Okay.
Hello, everyone. Justin here, obviously. I'm all capped and gowned out and ready to have my third venoplasty or angioplasty for my venous thoracic outlet syndrome, and hopefully that will help some of my neurogenic problems as well. I have been diagnosed with neurogenic as well as vascular thoracic outlet syndrome, and for those that want to know what that is, it's basically what you see the baseball players getting. Um, there's compression in this area, which is called the interscalene triangle. The brachial plexus, which is between the muscles, the anterior and the medial scalene muscles. There's the brachial plexus, where there's compression of either the artery or the nerves, or ventrally through the subclavian vein. And that's where I clotted back in 2001 after weightlifting and having an effort thrombosis or a deep vein thrombosis, a DVT as they call it. I, over this period of time, have had a series of clotting episodes here, then one here. Basically, I have been unable to do anything, or no one was willing to do anything on my veins. I did have, because I was clotting on both sides while I was on warfarin, I did have my first ribs removed, like all the pictures do. However, my symptoms started back in 1994, and I clotted over in 2001. No one believed that I had the actual symptoms that I was telling them I had. The nerves were pins and needles, numbness. It's okay. It's just doing blood pressure and such. Um, but basically, so in my instance, I clotted here first. It wasn't given thrombolysis because it wasn't suggested, and basically at the time, back in 2001, not much was known about thoracic outlet syndrome, and honestly, still to this day, not much is known. What we're trying to do today is actually continue to tunnel through the subclavian vein, which has already been opened up with basically an angiogram like they do, or an angioplasty. It's the same procedure that they go in and they widen the arteries and the veins of the heart. It's the same procedure except in my subclavian vein, which is right underneath my clavicle or my shoulder bone. So they are hoping to open that up from where it was completely occluded. And I have, if you can see here, it's probably not obvious now, but I have collateral veins that have built up over these 15 years that have compensated to an extent for the major vein that goes down through the arm and up through this area. So what we're hoping to do is restore normal vascularity and blood flow to my arm through using a balloon that actually has a little barbs on it that will actually dissolve the scar tissue and get rid of the scar tissues that's already there, as well as widening the vein. Uh, Similar people, Dylan Gee, a pitcher recently, had an arterial clot, had that fixed back in 2012. He currently just had surgery. He had a blood clot in his subclavian vein where I did, and he actually got a pulmonary embolism, which can happen as well, or a stroke. There's another pitcher, and I forget his first name, but his last name is Richards, who basically this can be a very career-ending surgery for a lot of the athletes, and those are the only people that you really hear about having these issues. Isaac Hansen is another person who had a blood clot. It was taken out, and he basically considers himself well now. But basically, in these situations, early diagnosis leads to better outcomes. For me, it took 6 to 7 years until a diagnosis was made. Therefore, my outcome was not expected to be as good. So once I had my ribs removed, yes, I did not clot for 12 years. So it prevented that, and I was able to stop warfarin. But I did end up 12 years later reclotting in this arm and having to continue on anticoagulant therapy. So it's an ongoing struggle, and I'm trying to deal with the vascular issues and the pain that I had from just basically taking the ribs out because of the scar tissue that was there at the time. I know this is a long video, hang in there. But basically I just wanted to give you a little rundown about what thoracic outlet syndrome is and what I'm having done today. So we're hoping to go from 0 millimeters to 8 millimeters where it is now, and 8 millimeters to somewhere between 12 and 15 millimeters, which is how wide the subclavian vein should be underneath the clavicle bone. So that's it for me. I'll be going in soon. I'm all prepped and ready to go. And Jamie's going to be nervous, so please keep her busy and occupied on Facebook. And thanks for listening, and we'll have more TOS talk later. Bye-bye.